Hi, welcome to my channel. This is Glenn Gaylord, Senior Film Critic for The Queer Review, and this is Glenn Hates Everything. My friends have often told me that I hate every movie I see. I'm not sure they're right, but come along on this journey with me to find out if I really do hate everything. Today, we're going to talk about the film On Swift Horses. It opens April 25th, 2025. It's directed by Daniel Minahan, written by Bryce Cass, based on the 2019 book by Shannon Pufall. So Daniel Minahan is probably best known for directing some great television like Game of Thrones. He produced and directed a couple of episodes of Fellow Travelers, which is really key to what we're going to talk about here today, because there are so many similarities between the two projects. One, I think, is much more successful than the other. In Fellow Travelers, we followed two gay men and some supporting characters who are also queer through the landscape of the McCarthy era in the 1950s. That historical backdrop, I think, gave that series its bite. Without it, I think we would have just been left with a really well-told melodrama. Flash forward to today, and we have On Swift Horses, which also tells a queer storyline between a brother and a sister-in-law, both who have their own experiences in the 1950s, mostly set in San Diego. What we don't get, however, is that historical context. We hear about it, but it's not like the real world encroaches on our main characters in a way that would have given this a little bit more depth. A lot of people will watch this film and say they don't make them like they used to. And this is really true here because there's this really sweeping, old-fashioned quality to this film. It feels like a big, long saga that starts off in Kansas, goes through Vegas, goes to San Diego, and we go on this big journey. And there's some very familiar tropes and some corny elements to it that give us this novelistic vibe. We feel like we're turning pages when we're watching this movie, and that's not always a good thing. But let's back up and let's start at the beginning. The film stars Daisy Edgar Jones as Muriel, who's married to Lee, played by Will Poulter. You'll know Daisy Edgar Jones from such things as Normal People, that great TV series, or Twisters, Where the Crawdads Sing. And Will Poulter, you've seen on The Bear. He is in the movie Warfare and Death of a Unicorn, amongst many others. And so they're a husband and wife, kind of living a very traditional lifestyle in Kansas. Daisy Edgar Jones houses them at a home she inherited from her late mother. And then the agent of chaos is Julius, played by Jacob Elordi, who you know from Euphoria and a whole bunch of movies. He's kind of like in everything right now, isn't he? But he plays the kind of wild child brother to Will Poulter's Lee. He is a card shark, a bit of a criminal, bit of a wild boy. You know, he has that James Dean pose down pat. And he comes into their lives, and there's a close bond between all of them. Clearly, Lee loves his brother, and then Daisy Edgar Jones has some sort of unspoken connection with Julius as well. They, I think, have more on-screen chemistry than they do with their love interests, to be honest. But it's an interesting dynamic that I think sets this film apart in a good way. So eventually, Lee and Muriel move to San Diego and they invite Julius to come along, but he has other things in mind and he takes a detour to Las Vegas where he gets a legit job working security at a casino where he's kind of in this room above the pit and he can look down at anybody to decipher if anybody's cheating. And it is here that he meets Henry, played by Diego Calva, who you may remember from his very soulful performance in Babylon. And he gives us the same here. I mean, he's really good. He's kind of a loose cannon, kind of wild, that disruptor character that kind of trying to pull something out of Julius. And so they kind of fall for each other. They do have some to me, fairly passionless sex scenes, to be honest with you. But that's what's happening on Julius's end of the things. Then you have his antecedent in Muriel, who also starts to take up gambling. She's working as a server at a restaurant, and she overhears some people talking about horse races, and she gets some tips from them, basically, without them realizing it, and she starts winning at the track. And then she and her husband move into this tract home that is close down the street from Sandra, played by Sasha Calle, who has a sign outside of her house that says olives, and Muriel just walks in one day and finds out that the olive sign was for another house, and so she walks into Sandra's world, and Sandra is very butch. She's very tomboyish, very seductive, and they embark on a relationship on the side, unbeknownst to her husband, Lee. And so what we're exploring are these two queer relationships, as well as a very platonic relationship between Julius and Muriel. Eventually, Julius comes back into the picture in San Diego, and I'm not going to spoil anything from there, except to say that without that backdrop, without that historic backdrop, this is very much just lush melodrama in the Douglas Sirk vein. It's very corny, a little passionless, a little inert, but not terrible. It has some gems in here. In particular, I think we get the most mileage out of scenes where Muriel goes to this gay bar in San Diego, and she starts encountering different people and seeing what a life could look like without having to hide behind all these other closed doors that we see our characters in. And there's this very beautiful thing on the walls of this bar, which I won't go further into, except to say that it provides the gut punch that this film really needed at the end of the film. I think it would have been more impactful had we known what the stakes were a little more clearly, as far as, you know, what the legalities were, what the world was saying about queer people at the time. We only get that in dribs and drabs, and we don't really see it in the way that Fellow Travelers was impactful, because Joseph McCarthy and Roy Cohn were depicted in that film. And so we saw the real clear and present danger right there. In this film, we'll see it in the occasional police raid or somebody getting bashed, but it's different. It hits differently. This kind of feels like just like a kind of a good old-fashioned melodrama. So if that's your thing, I think you'll find stuff to really love here. I was just a little let down. I like to call this Mellow Travelers because it's so close to the other one. It almost gets you there. So did I hate it? Kinda. I didn't love it. So I guess I still hate everything. But I would still recommend it for the wonderful supporting performances by Diego Calva and Sasha Calle. Those are two vivid performers. Sasha has very soulful eyes and very seductive quality to her when she's interacting with Muriel that I found mesmerizing. But this is not a home run at all. So that's it. So what you'll get each week from me is one uninterrupted take. I might look at my notes sometimes. I might put on my reading glasses and look at those notes. Who knows? I might have many surprises, but we will go on this journey together. So I hope you will hate and unsubscribe down below. And you also see links to my movie reviews. So the Queer Review is currently carrying my review of On Swift Horses. So you can check that out to get a little bit more context for this review. So thank you for joining me. I will see you next time. Later, haters.